Hello, my name is Keith Haswell. I'm a professional astrologer and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this video. I've done a lot of other videos before this one, so it is suggested that you do watch them in their right sequence. I've numbered them for your own convenience. And on this video I want to talk with you about karma. We're all in life and we all experience these impacts upon our consciousness that are very, very painful quite often. And we find ourselves having bouts in hospital, a lot of insecurities and secret worries. We have problems with friends, we have difficulties with business and career. We have problems with regard to travel plans that go astray and accidents and things like that whilst travelling. We have difficulties with handling the death of loved ones and difficulties making adjustments and changes within ourselves. We have difficulties with relationships and partnerships and marriage, and we have legal complications that crop up from time to time. And we have problems with our health, crises with the job, bouts of unemployment, unhappiness in the job, accidents involving domestic pets, problems in love and romance, difficulties with children, social activities that don't go well, problems in regard to the home environment and difficulties with parents. We have problems with relatives, neighbours, accidents on the road, and all sorts of other problems connected with motor vehicles. We have difficulties financially, and we have impacts upon ourselves through our own stupidity sometimes. So we all ask the question, we try to, in the midst of our pain, we call out to something higher than ourselves. Why? I need an answer as to the why of my pain. And so this is what this video is about. This video is going to help you to understand the nature of reality and your place in that reality. Now, all of us have lived dozens and dozens of lives. You just don't pop in to being a highly intelligent, integrated and organised human being. You've all lived dozens and dozens and dozens of lives to get where you are today. All of us have. And every single one of us are in evolution to evolve our consciousness and to evolve and expand our intelligence. We have all signed up, what you might say, on the inner side of life to the law of reincarnation. But we all have needs. We have a whole series of needs. We have the need to initiate and commence and start things. We have a need for security. We have a need for communication and to express ourselves and be creative. We have a need to belong and to have a sense of family unity. We have a need to recreate, and that involves amusements, enjoyment, recreation, sports and so forth. And it also involves fun. Fun through the joy and the wonder of sexual expression, romance, love, and also recreate comes as recreation, but it also comes as to recreate in the form of children and to bring children into the world. We all have a need to survive. We all have a need to sustain ourselves. We all have a need to form an alliance, a partnership, to find a mate. We all have a need to bring change within ourselves and to introspect and reflect and metamorphosize ourselves. We all have a need to expand to new horizons and to expand our awareness and to expand our consciousness and to expand our intelligence. We all have a need for high esteem and honour and respect in the community. and high achievements. We all have a need to unite and to form into group activities, and that involves forming friendships with like-minded people. And we all have a need for spiritual growth, and that comes through the wonder and the blessing and the gift of solitude and introspection. But we all have an innate urge to become more of who we really are, to seek the divine. And we seek that divine in aspiration to something higher than ourselves. We intuitively perceive that the whole of the universe has purpose. And even if we're atheistic, we still want to strive and reach and stretch, whether we call God nature, the spirit of nature or whatever, or whether we just call it intelligence. We all aspire to reach and stretch and to become more of who we really are. Now, in working towards achieving these needs and fulfilling these needs, we all are utilizing energy. We have energy coming into our system, as I've portrayed for you in earlier videos, that enter into our system from the sun and from the planets and from the earth itself. And the energies enter into our system through a center, an etheric center between the shoulder blades. They then ricochet down to the center at the base of the spine, where they have an opportunity to express themselves as physical activity, or they can then go to the sacral center, where we can express it as sexual activity, or to the solar plexus center, where it can be expressed as emotions and feelings, or to the heart center, where we can express it as love and giving and caring and sharing, or to the throat center, where we can express it as communication and creativity, or to the ajna center between the eyes, where it can be utilized as intuition, or to the head center, where we can express our will and determination and courage. Now, all of these expressions of energy are all recorded, and there is a law in the universe put there by God and Goddess that ensures that all energy must be used economically and wisely. There's three main laws in the universe: the law of synthesis, the law of attraction, and the law of economy. They are three laws that God and Goddess have put into place, and these laws bring us back into incarnation time after time after time until we reach a point of relative perfection. And the third law, the law of economy, has a subsidiary law called the law of cause and effect. And that law basically states that all energy must be used economically and wisely, and must not do harm to self or others. And so, therefore, any misuse of that energy must bring a corresponding impact upon the consciousness of the user of that energy of that misuse. So it's very complicated, I know, but this is what we're in. We're all in incarnation. We've all signed up to this treadmill of reincarnation and signed up to come into incarnation time after time after time in order to attain our level of perfection so that we can move on into higher dimensions. It's very, very exciting. We've all got eternal life. We don't spend eternity here at the human level. There's levels beyond that. And so we keep on progressing and progressing, but we all make mistakes. And this is the thing, is that these mistakes and this misuse of energy brings an impact upon our consciousness. Now, these misuses of energies come to us as messages from the universe, cryptic messages from the universe in the form of events to tell us that we've made errors, that we have misused energy, and we've used energy uneconomically and unwisely. And so therefore, let's look at the divine man, God. And we are all made in the image of God. And so everything starts with this first urge is to initiate and commence and start projects and ideas and to get things started. That's the will to initiate. Now, when we are using energy unwisely for the implementation of our will and initiating projects that do harm to ourselves or to another, or are not a wise or economical use of energy, then we are going to have an impact upon our consciousness from an event. And the first area of initiation is the head. It all starts in the brain, the will to initiate. I think, therefore I am. And so we are made in the image of God. And we can end up with impacts upon our head if we don't listen to the whispers. You see, we get the whispers in the form of little crises in life, headaches and knocks to the head and things like that, self-initiated efforts not working out the way that we want them to. We initiate these projects in order to be able to control and dominate other people, to manipulate other people. Well, if we don't listen to the whispers that we're getting from our reality about the misuse, then it ends up getting worse and worse. The messages, the whispers become shouts, such as injuries to the head, injuries to the eye, injuries to the teeth, problems with things like that, headaches continually and so forth. And then if we don't listen to the shouts, they must become screams. And those screams can end up being tumours in the brain and things like that. And tumours in the mouth and all sorts of ulcers and eye problems and all sorts of things to do with the head. Now then, the second area, and there is a correspondence of course to the science of astrology with all of this, but this video is on karma, the law of cause and effect, and so I want to keep it as much as possible to this particular topic, and so I'll use as little astrological terminology as possible. But the second urge that we have, the second need that we have, is to find security for us and our loved ones. Now, if we're deceptive with money, and if we're greedy, and if we use money for the wrong purposes to do harm to others or to ourselves, we waste money. Money is concretized energy. And so if we're wasting it, then it's not an economical use of that energy. And so therefore there will be impacts upon our consciousness of that misuse. It can come through financial crises and things like that, and it can come through throat and neck trouble, pains in the neck and things like that. But if we don't listen to these whispers, then they become shouts, and we end up getting discs put out of place and things like that. And we end up getting lots of problems with our money and no sense of security there. And if it becomes screams, well, we can end up with our neck in a brace and discs out of place and perhaps a cripple for the rest of our lives. So this is where you can make changes to the misuse of this energy to fulfill these needs. You can make changes inside of yourself and you can avert all of these negative impacts. The third urge that we have, the third need that we have to fulfill, is the need to communicate and to express ourselves. And that is the area of ideas. And it's the area of communications. And who is there in our immediate environment? Those that are close to us, such as brothers and sisters, cousins and aunts and uncles, relatives, neighbours of all sorts, fit into that area of things. And so therefore we're communicating, but if we're very angry all the time and very aggressive all the time, and we're trying to dominate and control people, we'll end up with having lung and bronchial trouble. This is the third area of the divine man, which rules the hands and the arms and the lungs and the bronchial system. And so you'll end up having problems there with the lungs, colds all the time and things like that. If you don't hear the whispers, then you'll end up with getting the shouts. Accidents on the road, injuries to the hands or the arms, a broken arm and things like that. If you don't hear the shouts, you will hear the screams. So if you're having troubles with relatives, difficulties with motor vehicles, which is the means of transportation for short journeys and everything that's associated with this area of expression, and communication is transportation too, then you're going to have accidents on the road. If you are having accidents on the road, injuries to the hands or the arms, problems with relatives or neighbours, and lung and bronchial trouble, where do you look? You look to, how am I communicating? Am I living up to agreements, both written and verbal? Am I communicating in a loving way? Am I expressing myself in a loving way? Or am I dominating, manipulating and controlling? Now the fourth need that we have is the need to belong. And that brings in the family unit. It brings in parents. It brings in the home environment. It brings in family and those who cohabitate with you in the home. And so this is where we have to express our need to belong. And that home environment is a utilisation of energy. How are we expressing ourselves with those who share our home environment, in our family unit and with our parents and so forth? Are we full of aggression and anger and hate and envy and greed? Are we dominating and manipulating and controlling those in the home with a sense of wanting power over and control over? If you're not listening to the whispers of little accidents around the home and problems with parents and arguments and conflicts around the home and things like that, then they become shouts, and you'll end up having fires around the home and problems with the next part of the divine man, which is the sympathetic nervous system, all sorts of problems on emotional levels and difficulties with the stomach and so forth. And then the next urge that we have is the urge to recreate, to recreate and to have fun. And so having fun means indulging in entertainments, amusements and sports and sexual expression, and to enjoy the full joy of life. And it's also, recreate is to recreate children in the image of ourselves. And so children belong in this particular area of your life as well. Now, how loving are you? In romance and love and relationships, are you selfish? Are you dominating? Are you manipulating? Are you deceptive? Are you having deceptive and secret relationships on the side when you're promising faithfulness in the relationship that you're in? Are you over indulging in the entertainment side of things and the amusement through drugs and alcohol, gambling? Are you too strict with your children? Do you share your love with your children? Or are you out to just dominate and control your children or abuse your children in some way? Now, if you're not listening to the whispers of these events in your life, the social side of life, relationships and romance not working out, and accidents in sport and things like that, problems with children, then they become shouts. And those shouts can end up impacting upon the next part of the divine man, which is the chest and the heart. And so if they become screams, you could end up having heart attacks, you could end up having strokes, you could end up having problems with children, you could end up having unhappiness in love and romance and relationships, all sorts of crises in relationships and romance, and sporting activities which go wrong and you have accidents playing sport. All of these things can be averted if we just listen to the whispers before they become the shouts and the screams. And then the next area of our life, the next need that we need to fulfill, is the need to preserve, self-preservation. And we do this through diet and intake of food and exercise, and also creative work. Meaningful employment is a vital part of our health. So to preserve ourselves and to live in good health is very, very important. So if you're getting problems in that area of your life, if you've got plenty of unemployment, difficulties with the digestive system, which is the next part of the divine man, if you're having problems with domestic pets, which fit into this category of our life, if you're having difficulties with people that you work with, if you're having problems with your health in all sorts of areas, such as cholesterol and grossly overweight and diabetes and things like that, what have you got to look at? What sort of food am I eating? Am I eating food which is good for me? This is energy. And it's not the wise intake of energy if we're eating junk food all the time and abusing ourselves. We're not preserving ourselves and looking after the physical body, which is the temple of the soul. And so if they become screams, you can end up with cancer of the digestive system and the colon and everything like that, all sorts of problems. And they can become very, very impactful. The next thing that we need to fulfill, the next need, is to find a mate and a partner to share our life with. And that's the area of marriage. And so how honest and how much integrity do we have in regard to loyalty in a relationship? Are we having secret relationships and affairs on the side? Are we living up to our commitment to love that person selflessly? Are we letting them be an individual, or are we trying to dominate and control and manipulate them to be what we want them to be? And so therefore you can end up with all sorts of problems if you're not listening to the whispers there, which impacts upon the next area of the divine man, the kidneys, the bladder and the lumbar region. And so you end up having problems with kidneys, difficulties with the back and difficulties with the lumbar region generally, and difficulties with the bladder. So I mean, we can avert all these crises in our life if we just listen to the whispers. Every single thing that happens in your life as an event or a condition is a cryptic message from the universe of perhaps misuse of energy. And you have to look at these needs and how you're fulfilling these needs. And then the next area of our life is the need to transform. And we transform ourselves through many deaths of aspects of ourselves that we've outlived and outgrown. And these aspects of ourselves are being metamorphosized. And these are many deaths through introspection and reflection. That's a God-given gift, to introspect and reflect. To reflect is to look back upon, and to introspect is to inspect. And so to look back upon past actions and to inspect it, and to do so internally, intro. And so we can make adjustments and changes and bring about these mini deaths within ourselves and metamorphosize ourselves. And that's what the universe is calling for. The universe is calling for change. And that change will avert crises in the next area of the divine man, the bowels and the sex organs. So if they become screams, we can end up with cancer of the bowel and cancer of the ovaries or whatever. So this is where we can avert all of these things. You see, the law of karma, the law of cause and effect, is not a punishing law. God and Goddess are not sitting up there and saying, oh, you've been very naughty and therefore I'm going to hit you with a bolt of lightning, or I'm going to bring about an accident on the road, or I'm going to create cancer of the bowel for you, or I'm going to create lung cancer, or I'm going to create this sort of problem or that sort of a problem, or this sort of a crisis with money, or this sort of a crisis with the brain, or whatever. God and Goddess are not up there looking at this from a retributive point of view. We are the ones who organise and plan these things out from higher levels. Karma is never assigned by anybody else. It's always organised by ourselves as a contingency plan if we don't listen to the whispers and if we don't listen to the shouts. The screams become very, very painful. But we can avert these things. This is what we're in life for. We're in life to expand our consciousness and to become more of who we really are. And we're also in life to have fun. And then the next segment of the divine man, and the next needs that we need to fulfill, is the need to expand to new horizons. And we do so through adult study, higher education, religious and philosophical studies, and also travel, overseas travel, where we can see other civilizations and cultures and thereby expand our consciousness. So it's very, very exciting, but if you're not listening to the whispers, you can have accidents whilst overseas, you can have injuries to the upper part of the leg, which is the next part of the divine man, and you can end up having all sorts of crises with legal matters and things like that. And then we've got the next area of need that we need to fulfill, and that's the need of high achievement and esteem and honour and respect in the community. And those high achievements can be expressed through career and business, and through high honour in all other areas of our life. High honour and self-esteem and respect in the community. And so if we're not listening to the whispers there, we can have crises in business, crises in the career, unhappiness through parents, and injuries to the next part of the body of the divine man, the knees. So we can end up with knee replacements and things like that if we let them go to screams. You see, we all think that we can get away with our manipulation and our domination and our control. We all think that we can go into business and we can be deceptive and we can rip people off and we can just dominate, control, and the survival of the fittest. But we can't. Everything is recorded. and you're the one who's recording it all. Your higher self, that piece of God and Goddess that you are becoming, sees you and communicates to you through your soul. And that's the lens through which it sees you and communicates to you. And it's also the lens that God and Goddess communicate to you through, is through your soul. Your soul is the thing that gives you consciousness and awareness. So there's just so much there to learn. And then there's the next area of need, and that is the need to unite, to group together in group activities of a similar and homogeneous nature, and to form friendships with people, and to have club activities and group social functions. And what are you up to there? Are you loyal and committed to the group urge and desire and plan? Are you trying to dominate and control and gain advantage over? If you're not listening to the whispers there, they can become shouts, and you can end up with all sorts of crises involving friends and crises whilst out in group and club activities. And you can end up with injuries to the lower part of the legs, broken calf, broken lower leg and so forth, if they become screams. And then there's the next and the final need, and that is the need for spiritual growth and the need to reach and stretch to the divine. And we do this through solitude, the gift of solitude. And if we do not use solitude for this introspection and reflection and aspiration to become more of the spiritual side of ourselves and more of the divine, then we end up being thrown into hospital if they become screams, and end up having all sorts of crises with regard to internment, imprisonment, hospitalisation, and crises and self-undoing. If we're involved in all sorts of self-undoing and self-sabotaging activities and self-destructive activities, then we're going to find that we're going to end up in hospital and things like that, and have all sorts of injuries to the feet. So if you have an injury to your foot, what sort of secret activities are you up to? What are the messages there? What are the deceptive activities that you think the universe doesn't know about? Because that's the area where you can have self-sabotage and self-destructive needs fulfilled because of misguided perceptions of who you really are, and you feel not worthy and unlovable. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of the way that the law of cause and effect works in our life, the law of karma, commonly called karma. But it's never a matter of you come into life and you're going to link up with somebody who you punished in your last life and this time they'll punish you. No, there's nothing like that. You link up with people who have a punishing nature, not necessarily those that you've had ties with in past lives, in order to be able to bring a message to yourself of the misuse of that energy. And it's in the after-death state that we're able to make a link between all of the effects that we've had in our life and the previous cause that caused that effect. But we can connect the cause and effect through introspection and reflection in this life, and we can avert the crises that would normally occur and have horrible impact upon us. So I thank you for your attentiveness, and I look forward to working further with you should you decide to have your horoscope done by me. I'm happy to do your horoscope for you and to help you to become more of who you really are. God and Goddess love you. and they know your name. And they want you to reach and stretch and make full use of the energy that they've given you from the sun and the planets and the earth itself, and to use that energy wisely and economically and in harmony with your environment and in harmony with the higher plan that your higher self has for you, to become the giant that you truly are. And the more that you fit in with this law of cause and effect, the more intelligent you become, and the more conscious you become, the more aware that you become about the nature of reality and your place in that reality. And you can then step off the path of ordinary evolution onto the path of hastened evolution called initiation, where you can start learning about the science of astrology and the science of meditation and the science of processing and programming, so that you can create all of the events of your life in accordance and compliance with your will, instead of your subconscious urges to correct the imbalances and the misuse of energy that you've been doing through your life. So it's a wonderful space-time rule set that God and Goddess have set up here for us. Let's make full use of it, and let's use that beautiful gift of introspection so that we can have fun and have all of the joys and the wonder of life. And you can then develop your partnership with your higher self, and your partnership with your soul, and your partnership with God, Goddess, all that is, to become more of the giant that you truly are by stepping off the path of ordinary evolution onto the path of hastened evolution called initiation. And you can take gigantic steps forward in the evolution of your consciousness and save yourself from having to live too many more lives of slow growth. And the impact of pain is very, very transforming, but very, very impactful and hurtful. Anyway, I thank you for your attentiveness here, and I look forward to working further with you should you decide to have your horoscope done or to enroll in my intensives. Thank you.